But then also it's how you're going about it. Is there even a hot button to touch? Because if not, maybe you're projecting your own insecurity. Like what if a woman came up to me and said, or came up to me and was like, you need therapy because you're too controlling. But she thinks I'm controlling because she tries to go out to the clubs with her friends every single weekend and wear a little mini skirt. And I'm like, I'm not going to take you serious. You go out with that, the door's locked when you come back. Find a new one.
Right.
And then she's like, well, no, now you're controlling. Now you're too opinionated.
Thank you for joining us this week, man. I am excited. This is part 1 of a 3-part series that we have dedicated to answering questions from young women, all under the age of 30. Some have children, some are in committed relationships, some aren't, but all of their questions have to do with life, romance, relationship, building a family, a foundation, etc. I am joined by my longtime friend, one of the most traditional, methodical, pragmatic, intelligent men that I have ever known, Leon Cohen. Also joining me, we have my forever friend, Delva Michel, a wonderful family man, friend, brother, mentor to some, and quite honestly, someone that I look up to, even though he's younger than I am. And lastly, we are also joined, now this is a twist. We were going to have older guys answering questions, but because this young man is so mature, I'm not going to say for his age, he's just mature, period. A stoic, a very logical, an intellectual person, and he is guided by a solid foundation through the word as a follower of Christ. Justin Bradford joins us in the living room today, and I think it's exciting that we'll have someone who is in that same age bracket with these young women. This episode is proudly sponsored by onsitelabs.net. That's ONSITE labs.net. Whether you're seeking a paternity test or a DNA confirmation for either immigration or legal or any other family reasons, or even genetic testing, onsitelabs.net. If you are anywhere in the metro Atlanta area, you want to reach out to them. And the best part is they come to you, so they've got you covered. Welcome to Manhood Matters. Let's get right to it. In the living room, finds his voice, 4 souls gathered, making a choice. What's going on, everyone? I am Stefan, your host. I am here with my boy from, man, how long have we known each other, Leon? 2008?
2000, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Known you forever, man.
Yeah, it seems like it anyway.
It's been a good ride, brother. Appreciate you. So Leon Cohen is in the house, about to impart his wisdom. And we also have my boy, Delva Michel.
Yes, sir.
Dude, I've known you the longest.
I believe so.
Yeah, because I've known you. I think we met when you were like 16. How old are you now?
48.
Jesus Christ, that's a long time. Yeah, you looked at him, right? Because like, well, how old you think he was?
I didn't know. But it gave me a whole different perspective now.
Yeah. How old you think he was?
Say mid-30s.
Mid-30s, yeah. Yeah, just because a little gray on the beard or whatever. It's incredible. But I've known just a long time. So what happened with him is he's a musician, and he was a drummer. Now he's a bass player. He probably plays every instrument. But back then he was like primarily a drummer. And I remember like we would have gigs, and he was not allowed in the clubs.
Facts.
So, because he was too young. You think he looks young now? Imagine what he looked like when he was 16. He looked 10, right? But yeah, it's been a good ride, man. And how long you been married?
19 years now.
It's beautiful. And Leon, I forgot to ask you, how long you been married?
Since 2007.
Don't make me do math, brother.
I'm sorry. So it's 18 years
18.
this year.
It was easy for me. That's in 6.
Yeah. 18 years this year.
All right. That's awesome. And we have Justin, the mentor, Justin Bradford. What's up, brother?
Nothing much, man.
Good to have you here.
Absolutely.
Now, Justin and I, we've known each other about a year.
Just about.
And it's been amazing because we just, we're business partners, work together. We worked together for a little bit, and now we're business partners. And he's someone that, this is going to sound weird to say because he's so much younger than me. He's younger than my kids. So, but I look up to you. Your wisdom, your intelligence is something that I'm proud to watch. I'm proud to watch that develop. So that's why you're here, even though you're like young enough to be our kid.
Everyone's kid.
Everyone's kid in here. Like, we're about your dad's age. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this particular episode is really gonna be cool. So what happens is young ladies, they're all under 30, I believe. So these are all young women in their 20s. And they sent in their questions and they wanted to get our perspective as, you know, the OGs, the young G over here. And just get the male perspective. Like, what is it that we're thinking? And what I find is a lot of times where people are in it, it's hard to see it. Right. You cannot give yourself advice. You know the answer, you just won't act on it. And you ever notice that how when someone else comes to you, you just seem to be like the most wise person in the world. Like, you have all the answers, but you can't solve your own shit.
No.
And so I think that, you know, we're going to show them some grace and just be able to kind of answer their questions because they're going through some things. And I think that we maybe going to come across as more of a sounding board to those guys, to these ladies rather than anything else. I think they know the answers, but they need to hear it. This is unfiltered. This is raw. This is real. So Justin, you're going to read the questions and let's get to it, man.
Awesome. So question number 1 asks, what does a man expect to hear, or what is the appropriate answer for when a man asks me, what do I bring to the table?
We hear that a lot these days, right? We hear that a lot these days.
These days, yes.
Yeah. What do you think, Leon?
So that dynamic has changed since I was in the dating market because it wasn't, quote unquote, I would say expectation. It was something you kind of got around to, but you know, we have a younger generation of men that think differently than our generation did in the way we were brought up. So I go back to my father's generation. My father expected to take care of a woman. It was not, what was she bringing to the table as far as, you know, income or whatever. It was like, okay, can you come home? Can you fix a meal? Make sure everything is good around here since I'm going out to make the money. As I grew up in my generation, you know, of course, women were working and it still wasn't 50-50. But, you know, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, you know I got to carry most of this weight here. So the answer that I think these young men, you know, are looking for just in talking to them from, you know, mentoring, you know, they're looking for what she'll have. Basically, you know, all right, everybody talks about marriage as a partnership. Well, partners 50-50. Let's, you know.
What you got.
Yeah, if you ain't bringing at least that, then, you know, I can do this by myself.
Right.
You know, figure it out. So I think the biggest thing with that question for women is you need to decide what your role is going to be in the house and establish that early. So, or establish if this is a person you're going to even be with, and that's a consideration for you, because I don't need to tell you what I'm bringing to the table if I don't plan on being with you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the disconnect is that if I'm dating you, why do I have to tell you what I'm bringing to the table? We're just trying to figure out if we even going to be together.
Right. Get to know each other first.
Yeah. It's a filling out process. So if we filling each other out, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Now, as we progress and figure out that we want to go further than now we want to be in a relationship and take that relationship further, then I think that question is more appropriate. I think that people skip steps in relationships now.
So let's say you're there. Let's say there's been 5-6 dates. The man rather asks that very question.
That's good. And I can give a good perspective just from like being in the dating pool. As far as what he said, it's very true because there's a lot of feminized men in my generation that look for a partner rather than a helper, like the whole Adam and Eve dynamic. So the thing I actually ask is not what do you bring to the table, because I would add on to that you have never given to another man. Because now when they hear that, you have to dive into character. Mm-hmm. You have to dive into your values. You have to dive into the principles that your parents maybe gave you. So as far as the appropriate answer, I think it's intangible things, something that nobody can take away from you. Maybe that's your purity. Maybe it's your innocence. Maybe it's your intelligence. Maybe it's your ability to just be submissive, because that's a very lost art today with the women that I have to encounter. So
that's a dirty word. You got to be careful with that submissive thing.
That's going to be controversial.
Yeah, so be it.
But it's very true. If you're a man worth submitting to, if you're a man of high character and you're not just some financial provider.
Say that again. If you're a man
worth submitting to, right? Because a lot of men, at least in my generation, were striving to be financial providers rather than true leaders, meaning you can provide, but you also know how to protect. You also know how to prevail. You also know how to establish a good foundation for the family unit to come onto. So I think a lot of the answers that they probably give are more so, well, I like to party and I like to, and that's not what people want to hear. It's like, you're bringing fun to the table. I'm looking for fulfillment being brought to the table.
Excellent answer.
Yeah.
I think that's
It's crazy because this question is pretty wide, right?
Broad, yeah.
It's broad because the thing is, nothing you guys say is wrong. And not to confuse the ladies, I have a different spin on it.
Go for it.
You don't want this to be a cookie cutter answer, right? So what do men want to hear? You really just want to talk to the person you're asking the question to. What does he want to hear? What do you expect to hear from you? Okay, because myself, all I want you to bring is respect. You don't even have to love me.
Damn. Wow. What the hell?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, bro. Break that shit down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will take respect over love anytime.
But that, wait, I'm confused.
I agree to that.
Oh,
which
no.
is
You
crazy.
agree?
I agree to that.
Absolutely. Because
Me
the thing
and Steph
is,
on the same page. I'm like, wait,
Wait,
if there's no, okay, if you could be feminine and soft and know yourself, bring yourself, don't hide who you are. Okay, that's respecting me from the get go.
Okay.
I know who I'm dealing with. We could build on love later. We have to like each other, obviously.
They're not bringing that performance. They're bringing their authenticity.
That's not your representative. That's you.
There you go.
So can I answer her question? If that was asked of me, what do I bring to the table? I would ask that person in turn, what do you need? Because, you know, I could be bringing something to the table that could not be relevant to your need. I mean, is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it monetary? What is it? And then they'll go back to, well, I just need to know what you bring to the table.
No, they're asking it's the other way around. They're asking, what is it that we are expecting to hear?
When we ask
Right.
them.
We ask them that question.
Right. And
so
that
what do
would
we
be
say to them?
That would be my response if I was the young lady.
That definitely ties into what he said as far as it depends on the person, right? Like you don't want to try to throw something on the wall and hope it sticks or be a cookie cutter answer. Each person's different. He may want respect. You may want love.
Yeah.
I may want submission. He may want a counterpart, right? We don't know what each other wants, and neither does that woman until she asks questions and gets to learn that exact man.
So when Delva asks, what do you bring to the table to you? I want to hear exactly what you bring to the table, not what you expect me to hear. You understand what I'm saying? Be like, hey, I'm the person when you come home. And you feel like, okay, you want to come home too. Okay? But you have to be that person. Because once you tell me that, that's what I have to go by. So don't tell me what you think I expect to hear. Be yourself. So that's respect to me. So which means if you could have respect, you respect me as a man, which is, I've been married 19 years, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing is super smooth, right? But I have to say, I am good. I'm happily married because my wife respects me. And it's crazy. When we met, I didn't bring much to the table. She had it all.
When you say you didn't bring much to the table, you mean the things that are stereotypically expected.
Exactly.
Right? Money,
But
things like
I
that.
brought myself, my genuine self. She accepted. She bought in. She was like, "Yeah, that's what I want." And then I was looking for somebody just like her, somebody that expect me for who I was. I was a musician.
Yeah.
I was making money, but in our culture, once you're a musician, you're like, "Hey,
You're a bum.
You're a bum."
Right.
And then her father was a engineer working for the government.
Oh, you're even more of a bum.
Exactly. And mom was a college dean.
Oh, you're a super bum.
Okay.
Levels to it, yeah.
What is he doing?
He's doing what?
How much is he- how you gonna
drums,
live on
bass.
Okay.
In a Haitian band?
Exactly.
That's even worse.
So that's what I'm saying. But and then she respected me for who I was.
So So just be authentic in that way.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say.
So it sounds to me like they will need to go a step back and think about, do they even know themselves, who they are, and what their identity is as a woman? So if you know that when the question is asked, you can answer it honestly.
Absolutely.
Because it's nothing more to it. So find out who you're talking to, I guess, in a way, right? If you're dating this person, like you said, Leon, you're getting to know this person, find out who that person is. Don't rush to anything. So by the time this question is asked, you know what type of man is asking you the question.
But check this out, Steph, because I've heard this. I don't want to take credit for this. There was a woman who asked that question to a man, right? A man who asked that question to a woman, what do you bring to the table? And then she said, oh, you guys don't even know what you want because you asked for somebody who had their shit together. And then when you get one, you leave them for a lesser woman by her standard. So somebody,
Sure.
okay. And then the guy said, you know what's funny? Having your shit together doesn't disqualify you from being a horrible person. Because you could have your shit together, but I can't live with you. And then the lesser person to you, by your standard, I feel welcome. I feel wanted.
Correct.
I feel respected. So who has the shit together?
I'll tie in a good one-liner for that, right? That I just thought about in my head. I thought about if they qualify from the internal, you know it's something true. If they qualify from the external, you know trouble will brew.
God damn, you know what?
Complete.
Stop it.
Yeah, there you go, Justin. That's what's up. They're gonna have to pause the podcast on this one and write it down because that's a
take that as
good
a
one right
quote.
there.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it. Just be your authentic self. Answer the question
Absolutely.
honestly, and if
Yes.
that's the right person for that person, then so be it.
There you go.
All right. What's the next question, Justin?
Second question is, when is the right time to have joint finances, if ever?
Never.
Or do you have an alternative option?
Yes.
I got a good
Damn,
alternative.
Leon.
I got a good alternative.
Leon is the okay, brother. You've been successful. You have investments. You're a real estate dude. So, what's your answer?
So if I'm ever asked to advise people on what has made my marriage successful, the first thing I tell them is that I have never commingled finances with my spouse
Really,
or spouses ever.
spouses.
So I'm on my second,
Okay.
right? And we'll get into that.
But this one's lasted like 18, 19 years. Yeah. So okay.
So the reason for that is because most marriages end because of
Money.
finances. So the biggest problem I had is that if I'm the primary breadwinner and we're mingling finances and I want to go spend $500 of money that I made and you telling me, no, I can't spend it, it's going to be a large problem for me. Right? Where I came to a medium is that, okay, we're going to decide who take care of what bill, whatever you make and you want to spend, you make, whatever I make and I want to spend, I make. So that way we don't have an argument on if I want to spend extra or go hang out with the fellas or this, that, and the other. You can't tell me we don't have money. No, the bills are paid. Now, if you want to go hang out with your girls and you don't have the money to do that, that's on you. Now, if you want to come back and ask me, hey, can you get, that's a whole nother question. But to tell me how to spend money that I made, that's a deal breaker.
Are you the primary, and have you always been the primary breadwinner? You make
Yes.
the most? Okay. So do you think that it makes her uncomfortable if she doesn't have enough to ever ask you?
Absolutely not. My
Okay.
wife can come and ask me for anything, and that's the agreement we have. It's not what's mine is mine and what's his is mine or what's hers is mine. It's,
Can she ever grab the
car?
card, or does she always have to ask?
I mean, from the standpoint of it being in my wallet, yeah, you probably need to ask me. But if you say, hey, babe, I need, then I'm just going to go ahead and grab it out here. Go,
Just here you
run. Go do what you need to do.
Yeah, you're very traditional in that sense.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've known you a while. You're very traditional in that sense. D, what's your take on it?
Well, the right time is the right time for you guys. Have conversations, build a foundation, how you want to run your lives. The right time for me and my wife, I met my wife in 2001. We got married in 2006. I got engaged in 2005. The first day we got engaged, we opened a joint account.
Gotcha.
And we never have a separate account ever since.
Okay.
So
one account.
one account. Well, now we have several.
Right.
But we just kind of pocket them, right? This is for entertainment. This is for my daughter's dance studio, whatever,
Right.
extracurricular activities. And these are for the bills, savings, investment, this, whatever.
Yeah.
But
you have your business account
absolutely, we have a business accounts as well. And then I'm like, hey, I want spending money. I have 12 bases. I might want a 13. That's my
as well. Guitar bases?
bass guitars, baby.
Yeah, bases.
Yes,
that's
yes,
right.
yes. So,
you have 12?
Yes, sir.
And they're not cheap. What?
Now, most expensive one is $5,500.
Okay.
Least expensive is $300. So there's
Okay.
no really.
Yeah, yeah.
If it sounds good,
If it sounds good.
it's good to go.
Yeah.
But we had an understanding, right? We don't live above our means. We like to shop. We like to look good. We like to go out to eat. But at the same time, we had a foundation in 2005. That's the way it's going to be. We never had a problem. And I don't think there's a wrong answer, but you guys have to figure out what you guys want to do. And I don't know I could live any other way right now because actually my wife keeps me honest when it comes to finances.
Yeah. Only thing that I would say is I think there is a wrong time. And the wrong time is when you're just casually dating or you like each other enough and you're all infatuated. There's lust, there's love, there's whatever. There's those butterflies. Shit is early and you go and open an account. Now, if your goal is not to get married because you don't believe in marriage, whatever, it's a different story, right? But we're talking about the traditional person is going to get married at some point. I don't think that you should do anything until you're either engaged, like you said, or I would even say officially married. It worked out for you really well from you were married 1 year after your engagement. So it worked out really, really well. But I think that some people are they jump the gun and it gets messy. But if you decide to have a life together and you're going to have this marriage, then at that point, I think it's the prudent time to move forward and enjoy finances, but not before.
I'm very similar to you just in the way like my father was like the NFL player. My grandfather was a highly successful businessman, traditional breadwinner, stay-at-home wife, a lot of kids. That was it. Now, in saying that, though, I've also come to terms with like a alternative option to where I think it's best that there's yours, mine, ours, right? Because ours is going to be for our kids. Ours is going to be for our dates, our trips, our things. But then there's also mine because two different aspects go into that. The first one is surprise, right? Because imagine if your wife, she comes and surprises you with a $5,000 vacation and you're like, where did $5,000 come from?
Right.
My account. So, or our account in this case. But the second thing is the underlying motive that will be revealed when that conversation gets had, because conversation and transparency eliminates all ego. So the second you have that conversation, you go, well, listen, I don't want to have a joint account, or I'm going to have my money, you're going to have yours. And the second she goes, well, why can't I get access to your money? And your answer should always be, you got access to me. You shouldn't worry about the money. You got me. The second you need it, I'm going to provide. I'm going to stay true to my word. I'm going to stay true to being the husband figure, because there's a hierarchy in our relationship, and that's just the way it goes. But the second that underlying motive starts to creep out and you see that all of a sudden she acts different, becomes distant, and the monkey branches to the next person that's willing to split it, well, now it's too late, and hopefully you didn't already sign any agreements or do anything that's going to stab you in the back.
You're dropping gems over here, brother.
Hey, back to question number one. What do you bring to the table? Right? So that's when you're like, was that you? You know what I mean? Was that what you expect me to hear? That's what you were telling me when I asked you that question. You know what I mean?
Next question, brother.
Number 3 is, how do I explain to a man the importance of therapy when he's uncomfortable with telling a stranger his business?
Oh, brother.
This one is
Oh, boy. All right, so I'll take it on. So therapy is very important, right? It's not the only solution, but it's definitely very important. I think that his mindset is definitely wrong by him thinking that he's telling somebody his business. That person is professional. It's no different. You go to the doctor, right? You got to tell your doctor your business, because otherwise you're going to get hemorrhoid cream for a headache. And that doesn't work.
Wow.
It's a good analogy, though, but yeah.
Right, so you got to be able to share that.
That's the you don't know your ass from the hole in the ground.
Exactly. So you have to be able to tell someone this. But the thing is this, right? So think about it this way. There are sites where you can go and get therapy where you're not even being seen. You're not sitting on a couch with the peppermint. You're just basically doing it virtually. You know, I did therapy. I did it virtually. I did it in person. And if you're uncomfortable with that particular therapist and not working out for you, you could just get rid of that one and just get another one. And so it's done that way. Now, her question is, how do I explain it to him? And I would say this: measure your words and know what you're going to say. So approach it from a place of love and empathy. And if you do it that way, the person should not take it the wrong way. If they do, then you got the wrong person. But if you approach it from a place of compassion and your approach is, hey, we all have things we need to work through. I'm working through them. I don't think there's a place where I'll ever heal, because it's not a destination. It's more of a journey. I'm going to have the wound, but if it's scabbed over, at least I can continue and I can progress. I think that there are some things that you need to work through, that I want to be here for you, but I don't think I'm a professional. I can't fix it. I can't I could support you. There are things that you need to work through for us to progress and get to a place where we're both happy and not have to take it out on each other, and explain that there are avenues to do it in a way where he's comfortable and he should be okay with that. It sounds a little ignorant to me when someone says, I don't want to tell somebody my business. I'm not even sure what the hell that means. Who are you talking to?
Piggyback on what you said. I think you're correct. But I think there's a hot button for everything, right? Myself, I didn't even know I had trauma because I didn't think my dad loved me at all. Just being in the culture.
Wow, yeah.
I will tell you the biggest whooping that I got, it's crazy. And I remember because when I was in school, I was kind of smart. It was me and this one girl. If she doesn't get first place, I get first place, back and forth.
And I want to go ahead and explain this to people who are not Haitian. And I talked about this on another podcast. Yes. In Haiti, they rank the kids in school. So there are 30 kids in school. The person with the highest cumulative average is going to be number one, and number 2, and number 3, and number 4. And so you know who the best in class is and who the worst in class, and your parents know as well. So when you go home with a report card and you're number 29 out of 30, they don't even care if everybody got A's. You know, hypothetically, you could have a class where everyone's done well, but this guy's a genius. He's going to beat me. He's going to do A+++.
Well, I was going from primary school to secondary school, and my dad told me, I understand you and Cecil, that was the girl who was taking 1 when I didn't take it. She was like, well, you better be number 1. I'm like, okay, well, I got to get on it, right? Bam, I was number 1. Got home, happy, showed my dad my report card. First time I saw this guy smile in a long time. And he was like, go wait for me. My mom was happy. I think she think I was going to get a gift, just something, whatever. Man, my dad pulled up in there.
Whooped you.
Whooped me.
You were number 1.
Number 1.
He smiled.
My mom pulled it. It was like, why? It was like, he's got to realize what it would be like if he wasn't number 1.
Oh, my God. He wanted to show you what it would be like.
Because he already made up his mind.
That he was going to whoop your ass.
So he doesn't want to miss the opportunity. It wouldn't feel good for him.
That is beyond abuse.
So just to tell you this, I have trauma.
Yeah.
So, and that's when I went to therapy because I realized every time I had to make a call to Haiti, if I hear this guy's voice in the background, I tremble. I was in my 30s. I couldn't speak to my dad on the phone.
Yeah.
And
he's in a whole different country.
Oh, that's a dude that I love, and I know he loves me because of what he does for us. But when it comes to stuff like that, I'm like, man, I question it. So I had to go to therapy, but I had to be really led to that, right? Because I didn't know what therapy was.
Grew up in Haiti, none of it. Well, we know what it is, but that's not traditionally.
It's not something we do.
We're tough, and if we do it, we're wusses. So yeah,
it was my wife because every time I would be on the phone, she was like, "That was your dad, right?" It was like, "Yeah." She was like, "You only spoke to him for 30 seconds, but you speak to your sisters and cousin, like." Forever. And I broke down and told her, "I'm like this. I just can't. My body tense up."
Yeah.
And she was like, you know what? You have to work through that. You could speak to people, because I understand it's trauma.
Yeah, a lot.
And then I had to go through that. Now I feel free.
Yeah.
I could speak about it. But also I have something in me that I regret because when my dad passed on before, I made peace. So now I'm like, wow, I could have been in a better place with my dad if I knew about therapy before that. Because I was holding on to all that trauma I didn't know how to release. So I would tell that person, please find a way, choose your words wisely and make sure it's coming from a place of love. Find a hot button to realize maybe the smallest trauma, something he doesn't really think that's important. Maybe that's what you use. Be like, hey, like me, it was the whooping, which is something that's regular in my culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what my wife used. She was like, hey, it wasn't your fault. And it wasn't your dad's fault either. That's the culture. That's what they know. Maybe that's what he went through, and then he never got help for it.
I talked about this too before. I talked about the fact that my dad had a lot of challenges. So
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So the shit that I dealt with was pretty crazy, but he dealt with some crazy shit himself. And that shit is generational. And so to answer this young woman, man, you have to find that place. Like you said, find the hot button. And maybe you don't know what the hot button is, but you know there's something there.
Absolutely.
And just get him to understand that you care enough about him to say this to him. And hopefully he'll take heed and go for it. Men in general, we've been through some shit. We deal with it. Everyone has. But the problem is that we've always been trained to not emote, right? We've always been trained to just kind of keep the shit in, bottle it in, be a certain way or whatever.
You gotta be strong.
We just need to be human, and we're not always allowed to be human. So there needs to be a place where you need to unpack that.
Yes.
And that often is going to be best served when you see a professional.
There's two different situations, right? You can tell a person that they need therapy and they're mature enough to not need it. Or you can tell a person they need therapy and they're too narcissistic to not need it.
Right.
Because narcissism, which gets very falsely categorized, is more so the outweighing of their opinion versus the truth, right? It's like saying, okay, well, that's blue, but I think it's green, so it has to be green for everybody. That's narcissism. So when a girl would tell you, hey, you need therapy, but you're mature enough to have worked through your problems with therapeutic ways, talking to your friends, playing a game, going to the golf course, that's you being mature enough to address the trauma or the therapy needs yourself on your own time. Because oftentimes a therapist can be who, what, why, when. I'm paid by the hour, not by the solution.
Right.
So now you're sitting there on the 5th session with the same problem.
Right.
Because I'm blessed to have great friends too. I've only had one coach in my life. And this coach, great dude, amazing dude. He had a session with me that he just DM'd me, said, I want to do it for free. I get on the call with him. We're talking for an hour. And I mean, he tells me the supplies that I need was pen and paper, water, and tissues. And I did not cry. Because instead we got to the end of the call and he said, you don't need me, which I respected even more. Because the therapist is going to say, you always need me.
Right.
This was a difference in him. He said, you don't need me because if you had my coaching and my like inner work that I do, you would be adding a 6th Rolex to the collection of 5. It's nice, but you don't need it because you're systematic. You're based on good principalities to where if I come in and try to give you judgment without knowing your life plan and alignment, I may throw you off of that. And that's not ordained from that point. That's my plan, not your plan and God's plan. So having those good people is what caused me to be in a situation of like, if a woman tried to explain the importance of therapy to me, why do I need to tell a stranger when I've already told my friend or I've already talked to myself? Or I've already been through the Bible and figured out a verse that connected with me and convicted me to overcome that problem or that mountain. Because the big thing is some people do need it. Some people have serious trauma. PTSD is the highest example of that because people's body tenses up when they encounter something. That's what needs to be addressed. And if a man denies that, it's narcissism because he's like, nah, I don't need it. Well, his opinion's overriding the truth of whenever that conversation happens, even across countries, he tenses up. That's narcissism. But for me, I was like, oh, my trauma's my dad. Every time I'm with him, I'm laughing, loving, training, doing all these good things, but I just don't see him besides a couple times a year. That's self-imposed. You should be able to achieve the maturity to work through that. So I think there's two different sides to her question, right? It's the man in questioning as far as who you're even suggesting the therapy to, but then also it's how you're going about it. Is there even a hot button to touch? Because if not, maybe you're projecting your own insecurity. Like what if a woman came up to me and said, or came up to me and was like, you need therapy because you're too controlling. But she thinks I'm controlling because she tries to go out to the clubs with her friends every single weekend and wear a little mini skirt. And I'm like, I'm not going to take you serious. You go out with that, the door's locked when you come back. Find a new one.
Right.
And then she's like, well, no, now you're controlling. Now you're too opinionated. I'm like, no, I'm principle based. I know my reputation is my repetition. And if my girl is repetitively out looking for attention, that's not my girl.
Yeah, you're not the person I'm looking for.
But you need therapy.
Well, you didn't tell me you brought that to the table.
Right.
Hey, now.
You knew she brought it to the table because that's what
Circling all the way back.
You knew that's what she was bringing to the table because that's what you attracted to.
That's what she showed up as. Absolutely.
Right. That's it.
And that's an external thing that she's bringing to the table. External appearance. Like, that's so big. It's the internal things where you can see the respect, which is what I value more than anything. Like the respect, the peace, the avoidance of problems, all that good stuff. Because in reality, life is so simple, but us as humans have the problem of overcomplicating it. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, cool. Next question.
Number 4. Can't speak on this one, guys, but how do I raise my children without traumatizing them while still healing myself?
I can start.
By all means.
So, as I told you, my dad was an old school guy. And like I said, he shows up in me some way every day and I laugh at it, right? So one of his biggest things, and I can tell, I think I had this conversation with you before, but the first time I heard my dad tell me he was proud of me was May 21st, 1995. You know why I can remember that exact day?
You may need therapy if you remember that. That's crazy. Go ahead,
The
man.
reason why I remember that exact day is that's the day that I graduated from college.
Wow.
That was the first time I ever heard him tell me he was proud of me. What it did for me was it made me tell my daughter that I'm proud of her. Now, not for everything. Going back to background, my mom was a teacher, got her master's, did all her doctoral work, straight A student in everything she did. My dad, engineer, straight A student, right? That wasn't me. I'll just say that. So I understood the perspective of where they come from, where it was I'm not going to praise you for being average or for doing what's expected. Because now it becomes, when I do praise you, it doesn't mean anything because you've been, little Jimmy always gets the ribbon just because he participated. That's not the household I grew up in. That's not the household my daughter grows up in. No, you have to show me the exceptionalism, because other than that, you won't know the difference between average and exceptional. Because of that, I have found a medium to where I let her know how proud of her I am. I let her know I think you're beautiful.
Again, Justin, keep me honest here, was how do I raise my children
without traumatizing them while still healing myself.
So if I had to say, where I was going with that, it was, if I had to say my trauma was that I never knew or felt like my dad was proud of me. Like I always had to do exceptionally well in order to
get that recognition.
In order to kind of get that validation, right? Because I had gotten to a point in life where I told, my parents, I told myself, I don't give a fuck what these two think. As long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. And I did that young because it was like, oh, you got an A. I mean, you should have got an A+. Oh, you got a B. It should have been an A. And so it was like, well, damn. Okay, I'm doing the best I can. And if it's not good enough for y'all, okay, cool. Because y'all ain't going to drive me crazy. And I don't know where that was just an internal thing within me that I learned early. Right. They're like, fuck it.
You don't know where the bar is.
Right, yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm happy. So as long as I'm happy with it, that's all that I care about.
You're going to create trauma no matter what you do. To a degree, right? It's not necessarily trauma, right? Because it's levels to it. But, what you have to try to do is, pull out the best out of them, because there's so much good in them, and pull out the best out of them and try to minimize the bad, because there's good and bad in all of us. Awareness matters. So if you're looking at it and saying, well, this is kind of what you said, Leon, like this is what happened with my life, and I see my own father in me, so therefore I'm going to adjust to raise my kids a certain way. And it keeps getting better and better and better. But the first thing was awareness, and you noticed it and you realize certain things. I've mentioned this before, where I learned how to raise my kids by watching my dad and learning what not to do. So that kind of helped me in that way. So there's no manual, right, for parenting, But I will say one thing is, sometimes wait. I just think that a lot of young people are too eager to, I don't hear, I want to get myself together. I want to get myself right. I want to fix things that are wrong with my life. I want to make sure I'm on the right path. Then I want to date, to get married, and then I'd like to start a family. What I hear often from young people, especially young women, is I want to have a baby. And I'm like, well, that's you're about to start trauma right there, because your plans are backwards, right? But if you already have the child and you already have, you're a young woman, you have kids, here's one thing you can absolutely do. Be careful who you bring around your kids. So if you're going to start dating, man, you got to be really, really careful. You got a young daughter, you're going to bring some men around that child. You need to be careful, because a trauma is something that you could be inviting into your own home. So you have to discern what matters, more to you. Is it the fun? Is it you need that companionship? Or is it taking care of that kid, right, and protecting that child? So be really, really careful with that. Bring someone around your kid, but take your time to do it. Make sure you understand. Make sure you've gone through, as you said, Delva, all of their representatives. And you can never really, truly know a person, right? Because God knows what happens when they are in the elevator by themselves, right? Because we all do that little dance and no one's ever seen it, right? So you need to make sure you have done everything you possibly can. And then when you bring that person around your child for the first time, for the second and third time, obviously they're never alone, but you bring them together, you need to be watching without watching. You need to be watching the things that are not super obvious. You need to listen to the things that are not being said.
Kind of like what you said, like I learned what not to do for my dad, but then also because I can't speak on it, but I can speak on what I've seen my father do, because he came from like the harshest of harsh from Commerce City to where it was a spam. You're practicing football on a basketball court and you're pulling down the oven to get some heat. But like all of his siblings, bad. In jail, trying to stab each other with spoons. Stupid. Like, not even stupid is a compliment. Ignorant, quite literally. But
because if you don't know a spoon from a knife,
you got bigger problems, right?
Right,
but this was the thing is like he grew up so underprivileged that he tried to overcompensate with the privilege that he gave to us. So like, as we're growing up in the $1 million home, he thinks like that's it. To where like he would be obviously not there for us and present for us. I didn't understand the concept of a provider that's obviously not having his time back to give to us. But also at the same time, every time he was around or if I ever spoke about my dad, he was Superman because he had come over, he would be doing backflips off our diving board and going with us in the lake and fishing or just playing football with us in the field. But he also had some of that trauma from his dad who was in the military of just like hard. So like the things that he would always tell me, he can't just give me good. He would have to give me good with the bad, which I love because it's a competitive spirit in me. And that's the fire that keeps me going is like, he'd be like, okay, you're doing good. But then next week I'll do something bad. He'll be like, I'll go send you back to that school and make you look like a pretender. And I'm like, ooh, he got that fire in me. Because this is the number one thing. It's like the competitiveness. Even my sophomore year, we had come back from the bus. We just lost our playoff game. Everybody's going home emptying their lockers. I'm on the field with the DB coach backpedaling, working on drills, and the field's muddy because I just had it in me. It's like the it factor. He created that intentionally, but he also tried to do the intentional stuff to not be like his dad because he didn't just talk to me where I was at or where he was at. He spoke to me where he wanted me to be, where he wanted himself to be. So like for anybody that's trying to raise their children without traumatizing them while they're still healing from this stuff, while they're still stuck in the battle, it's like speak as if you overcome it. Speak as if you want that person to not go through the same battle because the inverse brings gratitude. It's like if you suffered from being poor your whole life, well, don't talk to your child and always scare them with money words or with money conversations. It's like speak to the inverse. That's going to bring the gratitude. I always say that for everything. Like if you're going from fat to skinny, you feel good. From poor to rich, you feel good. So if you're always traumatized by this, speak about that and watch how not only it makes them better, but it probably heals you as well because you're taking the right actions.
Oh, hell yeah. Next one.
This is a good one. It says, as a young woman with not much guidance or good role models of the kind of woman I want to be around, how do you advise I stay feminine while doing the things I need to do to take care of me?
The first good thing I could see in her question is that she realizes she needs a change, right? Because maybe she has to work what she does. She has to live what she lives. She has to operate what she does. Yeah. If you know that it's not good for you, when you leave there, change your circle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Whatever that is the opposite of where you are right now. If they're not feminine enough for you, get counseled by somebody you think is more feminine.
And not even when you leave there, when you're there. YouTube University, you got a bunch of feminine girls. You got a bunch of relationship therapists. Like just, yeah.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. There's a lot of women on social media that actually just preach that. So if that's something that you'd like to emulate, just listen to them because I've heard a few of them and very impressed. And I'm just like, yeah, that's the kind of woman that, a masculine man would want.
Yeah, you don't have to wait till you change cities or change environments to change the product. You have all these tools and resources. Utilize your resourcefulness.
I'm going to say one more thing about that is, as a woman being around and you don't have role models, here's something that I actually taught this way back when I had a sales team and I gave each one of my sales guys an assignment and I told them to go out and find a mentor, right? And they were like, well, why do I find one? Do I have to pay for it? And you'd be surprised, right? Well, it all depends on the environment. So what they did is they all got a LinkedIn. They all had like 500, 600 connections because that's what they call them on LinkedIn. These are all professionals, right? No one's on there doing the little trendy dance. No one's doing stupid shit on there, right? It's all a professional environment. It's not fun, but that's why it's LinkedIn, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of boring. But if you go on there, you find other people that are, at least from your perspective, they're already where you're trying to go. If you reach out to some of these people, all these guys, by the way, ended up finding a mentor for life. They ended up connecting with someone. And all they did was, Leon, tell me how you would react, right? If you received a message from a young man and you're super busy and I'm not sure if you have the time for this, maybe you're one of 10 people they sent this message to. Hey, I've checked out your profile. You're very impressive. I like what you've accomplished, maybe mention something in particular that, they had an award that they had won, a speech they had given, a keynote they had done, whatever it may be, and they mention it. So these women should be doing that. Reach out to that person and just say, I was wondering if you would have maybe 10 minutes a week where we can have a conversation. I'd like to learn from you and see if this is something they're willing to do. I will tell you, a lot of people will find that to be
10 minutes. Yeah,
I could find 10 minutes a week to talk to a young person who gives me a call. So if a woman is on LinkedIn and she's kind of doing her thing, she's killing it, and you young ladies are looking and you're seeing that person and saying, hey, let me reach out to her. Let me send her a message, see if I can ask. And now you can discuss goals. You can discuss big picture. It's not going to get super granular, but you can talk about certain things that, will be very beneficial for you. You can tell this person your goal, and then next Wednesday, because you talk each Wednesday for 10 minutes, she's going to hold you accountable. Do you know how hard you're going to work to make sure you don't disappoint this person, to make sure you're there? So you can find mentors if you're really looking for one. It doesn't have to be your auntie or your mom or anyone in your environment. You know where you need to be going. Find that person.
I was going to say, make sure you want to swap lives with them. Like, that's the end all be all, is like, if you're going to take advice, not with a grain of salt, but put your life on that, like, you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to listen to what you say and actually apply it.
Correct.
Test it. It's like, okay, well, if I do what you did, am I happy if I became you? Am I happy if I had your relationship?
There you go.
If I had your fruit? So like, that's the biggest thing when you're picking the seeds that you're going to put in your soil, is what type of garden did it actually grow?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for this generation than ours because of the advent of social media, where, I mean, I don't like the term followers, but if you're going to follow somebody positive, somebody that follows somebody that, is living the life that you want to live.
For sure.
So, I mean, that's what I've always been told, is that, if you don't have the role models around you or in your circle that you want to be like, then you need to broaden your circle.
Correct.
Yeah. So
change circles altogether.
Yeah, or change them all together. So if I'm this young lady, and you're into social media, then start following the feminine characters that, you want to, that have characteristics that you want to incorporate.
Awesome.
To close it out, I would say just also be careful to that young lady, because the word feminine in the modern women era, it's taboo, right? So if you want to be feminine, just know what comes with that. Because being feminine, not just because you're going to wear a dress as opposed to a pair of jeans. Okay, it's more than that. Okay, I'm not saying you're going to be a traditional woman, but being feminine means you soft, you agreeable, you listen, and we listen to each other. But you understand, when you respect your man, you speak with a different tone than you speaking with your friends. It's being feminine is I don't know if they really understand what they're asking. Being feminine, it's not hard, but it's different than what it used to be probably like 40, 50 years ago than what it is now.
And I will tell you, like, the women that I know, a lot of them, most of them, in fact, they want to be feminine. Right. We just have to create a space for them to be feminine. So that's our job to do so. But the women need to understand, to your point, they need to understand what that is and what that means, right? You don't always have to just be that person. And here's the thing, it has nothing to do with weakness, because the women that I know who are feminine, including my wife, she is the strongest person I know. Absolutely. She is the strongest, literally the strongest person that I know. It has nothing to do with physicality. It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that this is someone who has fortitude. She has intellect. She has a strong mindset, and yet she's feminine.
Be strong-minded, not hard-headed.
There you go.
Pretty much.
There you go.
Like you said, it's not hard, but it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We appreciate you for sending in your questions. I want to definitely thank my guests. They were both insightful, informative. And if you feel that this has helped you in any way, do me a favor right now. Stop what you're doing, pause, and go ahead and hit that follow button for me. Also, share the episode with at least one of your friends that you feel this would help as well. Keep in mind, this is a 3-part series. So this was only part 1. We'll come back soon with part 2 and 3. And we look forward to you joining us again. Manhood matters, baby. We out.